may not be suitable for all audiences.
Parents were outraged when a photo of Michelangelo's David, a nude statue, was shown during a lesson on Renaissance art. Here to comment.
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Scholars, welcome back to Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher, a professional artist and master educator who attempts to provide the best in art historical content. If you like the content, if you like art history, you like art, you like those things, you're going to want to like, you're going to want to share, and subscribe.
Well, you're really asking two questions there.
Not to digress, because I do, but oftentimes I like to get off on a side note or two. I've collected some side notes from the past year, and here they are for your, side note enjoyment. Side note, of the more than 1 million works of art that are in the collection at the Louvre, the Mona Lisa is the only one that has ever been given its own postbox to collect the love letters that are given to it from admirers from around the world.
What the hell are you doing? Have you lost your mind?
Side note, although there's something to be said for the artwork that was coming out of his studio that was not necessarily created by him, Rubens himself was a very prolific artist. Over the course of a 50-year career, he would produce some 1,403 works of art, which would calculate down to about 28 to 30 works per year.
Got my kind of fella! Ah!
Side note, his unique look, the handlebar mustache and Cuban cigar, really caught the attention of many, including Sylvester Stallone, as he used his interesting artworks in Rocky III, but also would go on to cast him as a ring announcer in Rocky IV and Rocky Balboa.
Now come on, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the old gym, will you? Let's get some blood and sweat and tears around here.
Side note, Berthe Morisot and Camille Pissarro are the only two artists to participate in all 8 of the Impressionist exhibitions. Now, this is news, because most historians, say that Pissarro was the only one, but he wasn't. Throughout the show history, artists participating in the shows and the artists that are listed in the catalog do not align. During the 1879 show, her daughter was born just before that, in November of 1878. And she was not included in the catalog because they didn't know she was going to have work in the show. However, in correspondence from Claude Monet, he mentions that he enjoyed the artwork that she had put in that show of the 4th Impressionist exhibition of 1879.
But he's gonna get nowhere with that.
No, he ain't, is that?
No, he ain't.
Side note, famed musician David Bowie, who once said, "Art was seriously the only thing I'd ever wanted to own," created a song in 1977 called Joe the Lion, which was inspired by Chris Burden's Transfixed on his Heroes album. Listen to the lyrics, they're all about Chris Burden.
Is bonus good? Bonus? Sure, it's great.
Yeah, everyone wants one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Side note, over 3,000 years since the Olmec carved their giant heads, presumed to be leaders, the tradition is still alive in Williamsburg, Virginia, where one can find a set of 20-foot-tall statues of American presidents created by artist David Addix, which have been placed in a field since 2010 as they await a suitable site for them to be displayed in the public.
I'm sorry. Thought we were talking about folklore.
Side note, in 1972, Charles Simmons created Dwellings, a video artwork based on these productions surrounding the little people of his own invention. Let's take a quick look at some of the clips from that video artwork.
For the past 3 years, I've been going around the streets of New York building dwelling places for an imaginary group of little people who are migrating through the city. Each dwelling tells part of the story of the life of these people, where they go, and what they do, how they live, and what they believe. Some of the dwellings are ritual places, some ruins that are being re-inhabited, some just houses or settlements. Usually, the little people live wherever the landscape of the city seems to offer them a home, but their survival is very much dependent upon the flow of life around them and the kind of treatment they receive. For the past 2 years, they have been populating a neighborhood on the Lower East Side, where life on the street is very active. Most people try to protect the little people, and the little people usually build so that the forces of nature pose no great threat to their survival. But greedy people who try to take them home, cars, trucks, and little children playing bombardier, are common causes of death.
He gets safe there? No. He's safe, man. He just does it. It's his hobby, right? Well, I guess it's more serious than a hobby.
You forget your lesson.
A hobby? You could say that's a life, man. You can make money out of that, right? Not this way. You can make money out of sculpture if you make sculpture that people could buy. You could make.
Clay's all about making things to make, and there's like this kind of clay, but it's brown. It has a lot of touches to it. It's kind of bumpy, and so we can make a lot of things out of clay.
Fabulous idea! Side note, James T. So was invited by his good friend Edgar Degas to become a part of what would become known as the first Impressionist art exhibition in 1874, but Tissot refused because he was a guy that preferred to do things on his own.
This is how life should be.
Side note, it was once claimed that Jackson Pollock's mural from 1943 was too long for the hallway that it was designed to go into, so 8 inches was cut off the end. However, we now know that the measurements and the canvas itself was supplied by Peggy Guggenheim, and there is absolutely no evidence that it was ever cut or trimmed on either end.
Damn right.
Side note, Claude Monet and Pierre-Auguste Renoir were the only artists that chose to go to the official salon over the 5th Impressionist art exhibition who were actually accepted into the 1880 salon.
Yes, you do you, I do me, okay? Where did you get this guy?
He just showed up one day.
Side note, there are no questions it takes a village to care for a child, especially in the case of Julie Manet. Both of her parents had died by the time she was 16, and her mother had put her in the guardianship of the French poet Stéphane Mallarmé. She was allowed to stay with family members and cousins and things, and very much supported by her parents' good friend and colleague, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, as she would grow into a painter, model, and art collector in her own regards.
You're an artist?
I try.
Side note, in the 1930s and 40s, many fake Vermeers hit the market by a forger, Han van Meegeren, stealing nearly $30 million in modern money, and his forgeries were discovered after World War II, after selling fake Vermeers to Nazi Hermann Göring, who was something of an art collector, thief of sorts, resulting in his conviction of fraud, and Göring was seeking these because Adolf Hitler was attempting to create a Führer museum, and this museum in Linz, Austria was with the goal of including every single Vermeer painting.
Everybody's getting pimped. Whether you work a 9 to 5 or whether you work for yourself, you're getting pimped by somebody. That's not the crime. The crime is how long you allow yourself to get pimped.
Side note, Filippo Brunelleschi would teach this one-point linear perspective technique to many of his students, including one of the greatest sculptors of his time, the great Renaissance artist and namesake to the Ninja Turtle, Donatello Bardi.
If the professor is worried, we should take it seriously.
Side note, although on paper toilet paper was invented in 1857, it was used as early as the 2nd century BC and recorded as being used as early as the 6th century in medieval China.
I am Cornholio. I need TV for my bunghole.
Side note, Barbara Kruger not only worked in this graphic design sort of format, but she also would work in photography, architecture, video, installations, and sculpture.
Because it's art, and art is one of those things that can't be quantified. It has a quality to it, and hip-hop's no different.
Side note, although the origins are debated, the tarot likely originated in France in the 1600s. It was created as a deck with 2 sections, 22 major cards and 56 minor cards. It was only the major cards that were originally decorated until early in the 1900s when they began decorating all of the cards. But at any rate, most follow a shared system of symbols that go all the way back to those first 1600s decks.
There isn't a man or beast who'll get past that without setting off the alarm.
Side note, according to legend, he had a competition with all those folks in his court, asking them to provide Maximilian I with the greatest example of their work, and Burgher showed up without any artworks. And to amaze Maximilian, he took a drawing utensil and drew a perfect circle without any aid of a stencil or compass or anything like that. And it truly did amaze Maximilian, and it said that's why Burgher was his favorite.
Like that song.
Side note, Bernini's Fountain of the Four Rivers did shake the world as a great Baroque sculpture, adding to Rome's distinction as the city with the most fountains. However, the city with the second most fountains in the world is Kansas City, Missouri.
Scrub, scrub.
Side note, in Victorian England, it was common not to say cheese but prunes, because saying prunes would tighten your lips into a more socially accepted standard of beauty when taking a photograph.
I always believe you, Bill. Have another drink.
Side note, many artists at this time, beyond Vincent van Gogh, had been inspired by absinthe, including Edouard Manet, Edgar Degas, Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, Pablo Picasso's Blue Period, and many, many more.
Guys, I need your opinion here on which is the best aftershave.
Okay, dog. Side note, Berthe Morisot was very much influenced by Edouard Manet, who really helped her evolve in her style. She participated in his paintings as a model, but also gave him advice as well. It is said that 3 of her paintings hung in his bedroom, although some people speculate on the intimacy of their relationship. Morisot actually married his brother Eugene Manet in 1874.
Love. I can't think of anything more disgusting.
Side note, Michelangelo did not paint this laying down, he painted it standing up. So quit saying that. Anyway.
What you talking about, Willis?
Side note, when Richard Dodd first began to exhibit very peculiar sorts of traits, it was believed that he had sunstroke, which is where the body's core temperature reaches a temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher that may result in headache, altered mental state, aggression, nausea, loss of consciousness, and even more. But this was not sunstroke. This was mental illness. But mental illness that created some pretty interesting works of art.
I'm crazy, but I ain't no fool. I ain't no fool.
Side note, in 1997, Wheaties was looking to create a series of 5 cereal boxes that depicts the legends of the NFL, including Johnny Unitas, Mean Joe Green, Roger Staubach, Walter Payton, and Ronnie Lott. Of course, they went to Leroy Neiman to execute the artwork for those cereal boxes.
Cute box.
Side note, also with his wealth, Rubens had the opportunity to purchase quite a few pieces of really great artwork. He owned some really great examples of antique sculpture, paintings by his Flemish predecessors and by the Italian masters that he had admired, including the Renaissance master Titian.
It's a masterpiece!
Side note, art historian Henry Adams has said that Jackson Pollock's signature was the beginning point of this painting. And although you can very clearly see traces of Jackson Pollock in the background, it has mixed responses in terms of art historical people that buy into this story of sorts. Scholars, I hope you enjoy that as much as I love being able to bring it to you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. You have a good day.
have a very hard time expressing my emotions, and I can't stop from yelling.